All right, what's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to the Lead God podcast, where we talk about all things business and entrepreneurship. Today, we have a VSL Jedi, a digital advertising legend, a YOLO investor, none other than Peter Kell. How you doing, man?
What's up? Thanks for having me, Ken.
How was that intro? How'd you like that?
That was great. Solid. Totally nailed it. Nailed me to a T.
It took about 5 revisions to get that down. You know, I really wanted to make that intro just right on point to introduce everybody to you.
Boom. Well, appreciate it.
Cool, man. Well, before we get into, the beachfront properties in Laguna, just overlooking the world, the Lambo drives on PCH, and, the 50,000 Instagram followers and all the coaching and YOLO investing. Before we get into all that, tell us a little about who Peter is. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into what you're doing? But, where'd you grow up at, man?
I grew up in Orange County, a little bit inland and, just not too far, 15 minutes from the beach, surfing all the time, that kind of thing. Yeah, today I guess I would describe myself as just a hardcore entrepreneur, love startups, crave the adventure, love just trying to double my own high score and hit the biggest numbers I've ever had. I'm not really in this to make money. I'm in this to just be the best that I can be and constantly be growing and constantly being on the bleeding edge. And definitely the way I track my success is money. That's like my points in the video game. So that lets me know how I'm doing. And I'm just trying to beat my own scores, which is cool. It's kind of like you're going after it without chasing it, which is kind of, I don't know. It's a good vibe for me.
Yeah, and it's sometimes a little bit easier once you made a little bit of money, right? Where it's not, in the beginning it's money, and then it transforms into something else, that is actually the fun part of entrepreneurship that I found out. Because the chase is always the what if, is it actually going to work out? Am I going to make it? Am I going to be able to make rent, car bills? But once you're able to kind of get that figured out, then that's when entrepreneurship actually kind of blossoms, and it opens up to you to the world of possibilities and actually impact, right? So I think that's when it actually starts to get fun.
I totally believe that. I mean, today I'm blessed to be able to launch businesses and have a chill cushion and have steady money coming in on autopilot that I'm not worried about, which is great. So it's not as risky. I'm not like back in the old days when I'm freaking out about how to get food or I'm not scarcity mentality. It's different because now you're living this abundant mentality where more things are possible. So it is definitely a grind. Remember the grind going through 4 years. It took me 4 years of failing 7 businesses in a row just to start getting that first big win. But yeah, it was tough. It's tough when you have the scarcity mentality and stuff like that, and the words that are in your mind and the thoughts you're telling yourself are pushing stuff away, and you don't even know it is pushing you away. You can't even see your own self-sabotage, right? It was very challenging at the beginning.
Yeah, and were you always an entrepreneur, or did you just kind of fall into it? How'd you get into entrepreneurship kind of growing up? And I know your story a little bit, but kind of share with us how you kind of grew up and then how you kind of fell into entrepreneurship and, that whole venture.
Yeah, it's something about me definitely believed in standing out for sure. I think I was a middle child, so I didn't really get much attention from my parents unless I fell out of a tree or did something amazing. So I fell into this habit of I basically got wired to either take high risks or do amazing things and become great at things. So I remember when I was a young kid, I finally was in a car with my dad. And my dad told me this story. I don't remember. He told me this story. He's like, yeah, Peter, you finally was I know what I want to be. I want to be a millionaire in the back of a car. And my dad just had this vibe yeah, that's never going to happen, kind of vibe. And he told me that story years later after I had made it. And that story really hit me because I was that's why I had so much limiting beliefs, you asshole. Because I totally remember when I was in high school or whatever, suddenly that belief as a kid had vanished. And I was, I'm like everybody else who's yeah, I want to be rich, but that's never going to fucking happen, right? That's never going to, who doesn't want to be rich, but that's not for me. And so I never even tried. I worked at a skateboard shop. I didn't go to college. I didn't even try to get money for college because I was nobody in their right mind would pay me money for college. I didn't know that was a huge scam. Totally dodged that one on accident, right?
Yeah, same here. Thank God.
Thank God, yeah. So it was I just gave up on the whole idea. And, but eventually my parents ended up moving to the middle of nowhere and I was forced to move back in with them. And I just entered this long drought of where I was just 45 minutes away from the closest bar with one friend that didn't do heavy drugs. And I just fell into a serious depression where like I didn't really have anyone to talk to or anyone to hang out with, and this young, precious moment of my life was just being ripped away. So that was a big, seriously painful moment in my life. All my friends were out in college getting laid and having parties and getting smarter, and I was getting dumber by the day and not getting laid by myself in a basement in the middle of the woods, right? So it was just, part of me was just really sad that this life was being wasted away. So what changed it all was like one time my dad sent me this course on how to make money on the internet. He had a small website design company, so he was constantly looking for ways to help his clients make more money, and he would buy these courses and he's like, check this one out. And this one was just really aggressive and was like, hey man, do you live in your parents' basement and feel like a loser? You know, do you wish you could make money on the internet and drive Lambos and date hot Swedish girls and live in the Caribbean? And I was just like, fuck yes, I do. Yes. And the bigger picture was like, man, I just feel like I sacrificed my early 20s. If I could make this all happen by my later 20s, like that would be worth it. Right? I would sacrifice my early 20s. Looks like I'm going to sacrifice them anyway. I'm already stuck in this basement. They're going no matter what happens, right? So I got to find a way to trade it for something worth it. So eventually that vision came true, and I just thought there's nothing else I'd rather work on. I just have to find a way to make this come true, right? Because I just couldn't live with myself. I couldn't live with myself like having sacrificed this most important part for nothing.
Yeah. And when you got into that first course, was that the first kind of like shoe-in to creating something and, trying to figure out how to make money kind of online and really making money out of thin air, right? So was that the first kind of like venture into the entrepreneurship for you?
Well, I mean, thankfully my parents had a small website design company. So I just they just learned how to do WordPress, learned how to build little websites for them, learn like the basic kind of things. Just start studying different ways to make money, learning about affiliate marketing, learning about lead generation, learning about like just everything I could get my hands on. You know, I went pretty hardcore. I had nothing to do, and it was really interesting. Suddenly, the pain of being alone turned into the power of having no distractions, right?
Wow.
Weird. Same situation, but one is like such an opportunity.
Yeah. It's like a blessing in disguise. You kind of probably look back now, you're like, whoa, thank God, like, kind of, it wasn't fun going through it, but it gave you, something to focus on, right? When other kids were probably out skateboarding and hanging out with friends and doing all that stuff, it's like, all right, well, what am I going to do with my life, right? So
it was like a prison. It was basically like all the people with prison stories, except mine was just a different kind of prison. I was still alone. Some prisoners go and read and they become transformed. That was my, transformational phase, which was pretty. I was so lucky to have that. What a blessing that was. Insane. Yeah. Without that, I don't know what I would do, man. I don't know what I would do without having to move back to my parents' basement. I probably I don't know. There's no way I would have ever made it without being trapped in a basement having to study. I think so.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, everyone has their story and the reason why they chose, their decisions they made, right? It's like you had your back kind of against the wall, which is probably the best thing in entrepreneurship when you're just like, there's no other way out, because that's what truly entrepreneurship is figuring out, the puzzle piece. And it's a lot harder to figure out that puzzle piece sometimes when things are good, and I've even experienced in my own life when your business is good and you got money coming in and then you're starting stuff, but you don't have that same, almost like angst to get it going as you did in the beginning. So when you don't have your back against the wall, sometimes it's hard to get that off the ground. So you being in that situation was probably the access point that just shot you over into the other direction. And luckily for you, you just had that tenacity to keep improvising and, the entrepreneur spirit to actually try to figure it out. And then eventually clicked, right? And that's how it always happens for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a powerful lesson in getting to the point where it becomes an absolute must for somebody. An absolute must where suddenly your body turns on and you must find an answer. I remember having one of my students come to me so excited, like, Peter, I just had the most amazing thing. I was in $25,000 of credit card debt. And then I was practicing manifestation shit. And suddenly my old employer who owed me from a lawsuit just paid me $25,000. And it got manifested, right? But they started like praying out of nowhere to like really working on making this happen. They actually did it with manifestation. But the interesting thing was like, It took them being negative $25,000 for their alarms to go off and for them to start fixing their situation, right? We all have an alarm system. And her problem was not the $25,000 in debt. The problem was her definition of a problem. Because her definition of a problem was you don't have a problem until you have negative $25,000 in the bank account, right? Donald Trump will be, you don't have a problem until you're under a billionaire, right? If he goes under a billionaire, all flags are going up and he's got to go fix the situation. So like our own definitions of a problem, I feel like is one of the key fundamental things, because once you enter into problem mode, your subconscious mind kicks on, your whole physiology kicks on, everything is about fixing this problem. If your house light's on fire, you're going hardcore on solving this problem, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about this like definition, and it's weird how we can control that definition. And I was just lucky enough to have a serious, hardcore life traumatic problem that I had to solve, which was save my 20s.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And I think, honestly, like I can remember so much pain, like growing up on just certain ways I grew up and stuff like that. And I think that's why I was able to, do something in entrepreneurship. And I don't know if I'm successful or not. Like it's all relative, I think. But you've achieved some success, and but I think it's just that pain that gets you to that point. And then once you get to that point, and then how do you kind of level up from there? How do you get to the 170 mil, right? And then those are the different problem solving comes into play. But it's just that natural progression. When you got into developing these sites with your parents and starting your kind of entrepreneurial career, what was that first thing that kind of actually worked for you, where you actually created money online that actually probably triggered something like, whoa, I can actually do this? What was that first like product or service that you were working on?
Well, I had nothing work for me. I had nothing work for 4 years in a row. I failed 7 companies. I mean, probably the closest I got was I started a lead generation company for rehab centers. So I would like call rehabs and tell them I was going to send them 10 phone calls. And I asked them to prepay for the phone calls. And I was going to call in between. I send them to you, and I was going to vet for the right insurance so that I'm only sending you people with the right insurance. And they loved that idea. So I had them prepay, and I bought these ads to do radio ads, and we did the ads, and then that was kind of almost working. And it's so hard to get the rehab people inside of the rehab, so it wasn't like quite working for us, and we didn't really have a big budget to test out. And then one day, my first client, this guy who had been getting people off drugs, like overdosed on heroin and died, like my first client. So something about that. And then the other 2 clients that we had, just like we couldn't get leads for them that worked, and it just fizzled out. So that was kind of the closest, but it really didn't even, I didn't really even have much. My parents gave me a job for $2,000 a month working with them. And that lasted for about a year until I quit to go start on my other things. And then I was forced to get a job, and then I would quit that job to start a startup, and it would go horribly bad, and I'd have to get a job again, and I'd quit, and then it'd go horribly bad. So it was just this cycle. The first thing that actually worked for me was realizing that the biggest mistake I was making in business was actually starting a business, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's the worst
right?
part.
Well,
it's not fun, painful.
Actually, I'm terrible at this thing, right? And after 7 in a row, I'm not going to do it again, right? So I pivoted to this idea of I have to become an apprentice to a master, right? That's the only way. Like I have to go learn from somebody and become like I don't know, whatever. If I'm fucking Luke Skywalker, I got to go find Yoda. Was the vibe I had to go. Like that was the vibe I turned into. Like I just got to go search for Yoda, right? That kind of vibe. So that's what really changed it all for me. Was I started a mastermind group with it was a Skype group called the 1K a Day Native Ads Mastermind, and I started this group of online marketers who were all making $1,000 a day. I wasn't making it, but nobody asked me because I made the group. And eventually, one huge guy joined my group, and we built a relationship. And then a few months later, they were like, "Hey, do you want to come work for us?" And that was a big tipping point for me. That was it. That was everything. Wow. That was my moment.
And from there, what product and service was that exactly, and what came from that? Maybe compensation wise, or what was that callus that really popped for you?
Yeah, so I had learned that the skill set I needed to learn was media buying as an affiliate marketer. So I needed to learn how to buy traffic and sell affiliate products. That was the skill set that was going to make it rain for me. So I had a job at at a affiliate network, which was interesting because I was behind the scenes at an affiliate network, so I could see what a lot of other affiliates were running. So I could see some proof that making money on the internet exists, right? So I could see some actual numbers. And they would give me a credit card. And while I was there practicing, I stumbled upon this campaign selling nootropics, like for your brain, to help you focus better, those kind of things, nootropics products. And I had a campaign that was working pretty well. And, but it wasn't working that good because my boss was a little bit like not used to high spend. I think the first month that I was there, I lost $1,000. The next month I made $1,000. And then month 3, like we made $15,000, but we spent like $75,000 to get 80 something, 90 grand back. So it was kind of sketchy for him. He wasn't like a baller kind of high credit card level guy. So he stopped my campaigns. And I had this mastermind group on the side. That means I'm basically fired, right? When he tells you to pause and you're commission only. It's like, you're like a sales rep, like stop taking phone calls. Well, that's my fucking job, right? So I had this mastermind group and I told these guys who were in my group and they were these monster guys. And they're like, well, why don't you come work for us? And then they taught me, luckily they saw the potential in the campaign because I just started to get it kind of to work at the end. And then we blew it up on Rev content and it just exploded, you know? And then I went from like not making much to like pulling in like, you know, $7,000, $8,000 profit days.
Wow.
Because my campaign was taking off. Yeah. We just scaled it all the way up on Rev content. It was wild. And then we took it to Facebook and it just blew up. And this is before Facebook had cracked down on like a lot of supplement. It made it a lot harder to do supplements and I wasn't as experienced. So I didn't really know how to navigate Facebook supplements back then. But that was it. That was my first big, crazy explosion. You know, these guys let me have 50% of the profits. They would pay for the ads, and I would if I oh my god, yeah, if I did over 50% of the profits, it doesn't exist. That deal doesn't exist anymore, right? I just like got so blessed. My original deal was 30% of profits, but if I do more than 50 grand a month in profit, I get 40%. And then when I partner with them, they just bumped it up 10%. So 40%. If I'm over 50 grand, it's 50%. So, oh my God, you know,
so you're highly incentivized, not just to make this.
I was
to
make
you were
it
able
rank,
to crush
bro.
it. Yeah,
I was like,
legitimately printing money.
There was a way for me to fucking get McLarens and Lambos right now. Like I see it, right? I just need to make a campaign. So like I would tell them like, yo, let me sleep on your floor. Teach me everything you know. I will sleep on your floor outside. I don't give a shit, right? So I moved to LA to sleep at the guy's house. I moved to Florida to sleep at the other guy's house. I was completely obsessed with just the opportunity that I had in my hand to learn this skill set. And
did they give you like a time frame to figure this out? Because it's kind of like, hey, I'm gonna invite you in, teach you everything I know, and was it a 3-month gig, or was this kind of like were they just like really taking you under your wing? Because
they took me under their wing.
You're just moving around, right, trying to figure it out.
I mean, it's risky for me for sure. That's why I just went as hard as I possibly could, right?
Yeah.
Like when you have an opportunity that you've been waiting your whole life for, then you have to hit it harder than you've ever hit anything in your whole life.
Yeah.
It needs to be priority number 1, priority number 2, priority number 3, priority number 4, and priority number 5, right? It has to be completely obsessed with dominating this opportunity and giving it your absolute 100%. So, I mean, I don't remember them like, I had a short trial period for like 2 weeks to crack it, right? And then when I proved to them that we did it, right? And I was sweating balls, right? On that trial period. But I just everything. I put everything I could on it, and then the universe just gave it to me. That was it.
And so what was that first like? So I'm assuming you got 50% of those profit margins, and then once the money started coming in, how'd that change your life? Because I know sometimes in business, like you're working, maybe making a little bit of money, but there's always there's always that point where just things just take off really quick, and then all this money starts coming at you, and then you're like, what do I do with this, right? Was that same feeling you had for yourself?
I mean, I wasn't asking what to do with it, right? That's for sure. I knew what to do. Why? To make my dreams come true. That's what the whole fucking point of this was, right? I wanted to live. I'm all about lifestyle design. That's one of my mottos, right? It's all about how do I create the most epic life I could ever imagine for this chapter of my life, right?
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, technically, that's what we're all doing. We all getting up and working, going to the gym to create a life, to build a life. So if you're very strategic about the life you're building, or not even strategic, but just clear, Like, what is the best case scenario for this chapter of my life? Like, all the way around the board, right? Body, business, career path, relationship, whatever, and designing that. So, I mean, I was just trying to build that, right? And my biggest blocker, I mean, money doesn't solve all your problems, but it does solve 90% of your problems, right? So like 90% of my dreams could come true all of a sudden, you know? So I'm not like, you know, I'm fucking just pulling the trigger right away, right? Pulling the trigger right away. I mean, on my 26th birthday, I remember making $50,000. I think maybe like $60,000. So I got 30 grand. My partner's got 30 grand. And I just bought a $25,000 Rolex, my dream fucking watch. Exactly what I always wanted, right? I went straight for the fucking goal.
Yeah.
And then I just was on spending mode, right? Because I had lived my whole life without it. That was it. And an absolute miracle happened. One of my dreams was to make money on the sand on an island. One of my business partners was like, yo, I married this girl who grew up in St. Bart's. We're going back. Do you want to come? So I went from 25 years old, sleeping on my friend's floor with cockroaches running over me, to living in a $6,000 per month villa in the Caribbean, in St. Bart's, watching fucking airplanes land in front of my house. Just this beautiful, mind-blowing place with sunsets every single day, off the rocker. It's like basically white rich people celebrity island. It's St. Bart's. Like you have to take one plane and then take that plane to another island to get. You have to take 2 planes to get to this island. It's like so like just exclusive, right? And I'm living in this dope fucking spot, an American, ton of Swedish babes there. I was just having the time of my life. It was just like explosion. It was just this. Wow. Everything I ever wanted was just happening.
Yeah, and I think it happens like that too, where, I mean, I wasn't living on islands and doing all that, but I remember when it just, things, you know, you're working, and finally when it hits, and then the money starts flowing in, and then you're like, whoa, what the heck? I became a millionaire kind of like overnight, right? That's usually how it happens, I think, for most entrepreneurs or guys in your position, where something just kind of clicks and it works, and then the money starts rolling in. And then you got to figure out, like, hey, what do I want to do with this stuff, right? And how do I want to, like, design my life? What do I want my life to be like? But at least you have the thoughts of, I'm not fearful of being broke. At least I've figured out something, so I can probably do it again, right? And then that's usually where that peace of mind comes in, where, you know, money is a super important part of the equation. I mean, that's the part of the thing where, you know, it takes a lot of the pain away of life and the day-to-day stuff of, you know, just living life and having issues, right? You have that financial kind of security, and it's almost like a mindset. Like, you get that thing, and it's forever almost gone because you figured out this one thing. And then the next question is always, and typically, can I do this for a long period of time? Or is this just like, you know, am I just a one-hit wonder? So what was the next phase for you after you were living in, you know, on these islands and pretty sure having a good time? What was that next phase for you? Because you had to kind of figure out the next steps, right? So what was that for you?
So I was an affiliate marketer selling other people's stuff. Facebook did a big slap on supplements. And eventually we got hit by a Category 5 hurricane that destroyed the island I was on. Wow. And it just destroyed my house. I was in the closet with like a helmet on and mattresses behind me and above me, right? It was like just a hardcore fucking hurricane, which is actually very dangerous. I thought it was going to be really fun, like a roller coaster ride, but it was actually just like it's like standing in a road where there's 1,000 car crashes happening all around you, right? It's like pretty fucking not safe.
Nowhere to go.
Right, it's like trees going 80 miles an hour bouncing off your roof for 6 hours in a row, right? So like, it's not safe. So anyway, it blew us to Florida. I ended up getting into e-commerce products, and supplements are really easy because it's a very well drafted space. So a lot of the way to sell supplements has already been solved. And I pivoted into e-commerce where I didn't know anything about how to sell very much. Anything about, I was selling footage, trying to sell all these different products and all these affiliate networks. And I just couldn't figure it out. So I entered this phase where I was like, I really don't know anything about marketing. I'm kind of this online marketer, but I fucking don't know how to sell anything at all. Right? I like when you actually try to sell like a foot insole, you're like, I have no idea what to do. Right? Kind of like I'm completely lost and stopped. So I went through like maybe a 7-month streak of just like being stuck with not knowing what to do, frustrated, not doing anything, trying to do things, not working, whatever, just testing stuff until we finally cracked this idea of just rewriting winning campaigns. That was really it. Because even though I had studied a lot of copywriting books and sales books and everything, I was just too much information and too much like how to do a headline, how do you do the first paragraph, how do you do the second paragraph, how do you do this, how do you do bullets. Like there was just too much to juggle. So trying to juggle 100 balls at once. I know some people can do it, but that ain't me. Yeah. And it's not about to be me. So eventually we stumbled upon this idea of just simply rewriting winning campaigns. Just like reverse engineering. Like,
so you're seeing a good campaign on Facebook, right, where you can see their ad library, I'm assuming, or something like that, right, where you can actually you're just duplicating a big campaign. How do you know that campaign was successful first off, and then what was your steps to go through to actually copy that?
Well, I knew that like we were running advertorials, and I knew my advertorial selling this focus supplement was pretty good, right? It converted a lot. I knew it was a good sales process. Somebody had a problem. This article inspired them to solve their problem and buy this product. I was like, that's all I know, and I know it works. So I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm just going to follow the same footsteps, except rewrite it for this product. So I'm just like, it's like authority figure reveals how to boost cognition or whatever. It was like the headline. So I'm like, okay, authority figure, this foot and soul has like a chiropractor. So top chiropractor reveals how to, what's the benefit? Relieve back pain. Boom, got a headline.
Yeah.
just like that. Just like literally that. What is that? That's the problem. I'm going to insert my problem. This is an authority figure. Insert my authority figure. I just like literally like Legos or like ad libs just start redoing it. What is this? This is a story about how he discovered it. Okay, let me put in our story about how he discovered it, right? Like just, well, just like follow the footsteps, like in order, you know.
You don't need to recreate the whole thing. You just find something that works that a competitor is doing.
That was it.
You just duplicate it.
It's
actually really funny that we've done a lot of that same stuff for our companies. It's always a lot harder trying to figure it out yourself. But if you just duplicate what something else is doing that's successful, it's like, hello, I can cut down my learning curve by like a factor of
I don't even need a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing to learn.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. We're removing learning and getting to the money.
So that was the switch that was like, okay.
That was a switch. That was a big
7 month
switch.
stint of just testing stuff that wasn't working. The big switch was, okay, I'm going to figure out what other competitors are doing, insert my product, my workflow in it, and then boom.
To their
that
apps.
was it.
I'm going to wake up at 5:30 and I'm going to do this task first thing. It's the hardest task to do. I'm going to get that done first. Yeah. So I just started that habit of just waking up at 5:30 and rewriting campaigns. Eventually, we figured out that if we took these advertorials and turned them into slideshow videos, they would just do better. And I had one campaign selling a foot and soul just completely go fucking nuclear off the rocker. And it was a video, and that's when I got into VSLs. And this thing just blew up to the next dimension, and I just became completely addicted to VSLs ever since. This is about 6 years ago.
Yeah. And so VSL, so explain what that is exactly. I know a little bit about it, but I'm not probably as adverse, and I'm sure a lot of people aren't. So
a VSL stands for video sales letter. It is a video that plays directly on the news feed or YouTube ads, right? Yeah. So it is a video that inspires somebody to solve their problem. It is specifically designed to inspire a stranger on the internet to buy your product today so that their problem can get solved. Right? So it guides them through getting their attention, like talking about the problem that they're having, whether it's through a story or whatever, and inspires them to take action and buy. It's like the new infomercial, right? It's the new commercial. It's the new ad. It's whatever. It's the only way. It's one of the best ways for you to sell your products is you have to make a video that gets people to want to buy it at the end of the day.
Wow.
So that was kind of one of his big learning lessons. I was getting really good at media buying, and one of the biggest lessons in media buying is so easy if your video ad is really good, right? Anybody can do it. People just buy the product and your ads are profitable because your ad is really good. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just going to commit my life to practicing the art of how do I make videos that sell products.
Yeah, so basically you're shooting little mini ads, right? Probably little 30-second spots, maybe even less, or 60-second spots on on social sites.
No, longer. They're like
Really?
6 to 11 minutes. They started out.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
these are like almost like infomercials, I guess you could say, right?
They're long. I mean, today, I mean, all the stuff I'm running today is a half an hour or longer.
Oh, wow. I did not
It's
know
like
that.
documentary
I thought they were
infomercials.
all 30 to 60-second blitz,
Nah.
you know, like, and just pulling these people in and and going straight to your funnel. So these are actually long, thought out processes, and essentially commercials, almost like a QVC type of commercial, right? I'm assuming.
Long commercial, 100%. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like a commercial, you know? I mean, it's like you don't even realize you're watching an ad. I mean, great advertising is a lot like great plastic surgery. You only notice the bad ones.
Yeah.
You know, it's only the bad ones. That's the ones that stand out. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't actually notice the good shit. Like it just fucking goes right past you and you're sucked in right here.
We're in Orange County too, so that's we see it a lot. So
Yeah.
so basically, so now you figured out this strategy to have a long format, essentially media buying, you know, mastery, and then what came from that? Obviously, everything started going nuclear, like you said, and then what changed from your life before those 7 months? Of that just, you know, that pivotal moment, was that just another like level up on your
That was a
game
big
of
level up.
entrepreneurship?
That was a big level up. Yeah, I went from like doing like I would say I had like a $350,000 month when I was in the Caribbean,
Wow.
a year, well $350,000 a year, right, when I was in the Caribbean, and then I cracked this campaign and we had a $400,000 profit month.
Wow.
So I was like, I just fucking 10x, right?
Life changing.
I just 10x. I just turned my yearly, more than a yearly, into a monthly, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, fucking shit. Went right out. I made 200 grand in a single month. Spent 180 of it on a McLaren, right?
I love this.
Right, just fucking directly into the dream car, which was the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Paying the whole thing off. I didn't give a fuck. I was so stoked about it. That was like everything that I had wanted.
Yeah. So basically, all this money's coming in. You're starting to, you know, I'm assuming, start to live this really your ultimate kind of life, because that's a lot of, you know, disposable income, right?
Yeah.
And so you're starting to kind of ball out at that point. And
I'm balling.
what was your life looking at then? Where were you living at? How were you living? And then what was the next kind of phase for you? Because I'm assuming, you know, there's some point where it gets to you're like, okay, you can only spend so much, and sure, it's, you know, but there is some other part of it where you have to find some happiness, and just other than just, you know, there's only so many cars you can buy and so many watches you can buy, right?
Correct.
So,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, happiness is equal to progress, right? It's not the car that made me fucking happy. It is me finally achieving a goal I've been working towards forever that makes me happy, right? And then, of course, ripping around in the car is super fun as well. And of course, it's like there's so much to it. Like I remember when I had my first $1 million, I felt this really sad feeling. Like I'm working towards this. Like I don't really know what. I'm just walking on the side of the road, just like, okay, I'm technically a millionaire. Like it wasn't like, it was kind of sad. It was very sad, actually.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize back then that like the joy of being a millionaire isn't from looking at your phone and seeing $1 million. That is not where the joy comes from. Same thing with a car. The joy of the car is not just like, it's in my garage, now what, right? The joy is like the moment where you can go travel around the world, right? It's like a sum total of endless joy drops that it gives to you over time. And the same thing with the car. It's like, it's in your garage. That's not the moment that it's supposed to like really give you joy. Like you get joy out of it when you just go rip around to the Starbucks or whatever, have a blast, just like on your daily commute down the street one day, like you do one little rip and it's fun. Like there's different fun moments that come from it. So I wasn't like looking at what it does in the right light, you know, back then when that was kind of happening to me. So eventually I had gotten really good. I had learned some lessons about like greed when it came to building a affiliate team and like how to structure teams. And I created some incentive structures that were very misaligned and caused a couple relationships to crash. So I ended up leaving my investors and going to start my own business. I had sold my McLaren and threw it all in crypto to try to become a Bugatti owner. I was going to try to like sell my McLaren. Crypto was firing. I was like, what the fuck am I doing with all my money in the McLaren? I flash sold it for like 140 grand, right? 3 weeks after I bought it for 180 grand, just threw it right back out the door, threw it all in crypto. It just exploded. I turned like, I don't know, I want to say 300 grand into like $1.5 million in all of like 3 weeks, right? And like
Warren Buffett, just first go around.
I'm a genius. Just got in like right before the fucking explosion, and then just didn't sell and just got completely wrecked and just rode that back down to like, I don't know, $250,000 until I just turned everything out and just was like, okay, got to restart. Maybe I think it was less. It might have been even like 160 grand. I was in all those altcoins and I just got destroyed and held on for way too long. And anyway, I had to restart. Yeah. Ended up leaving my investors and was just off on my own now, and just started building this agency. Started building this team of media buyers, teaching them how to do VSLs and running affiliate campaigns. We did that for about a year until we cracked a skincare campaign that turned out to be really, really big with this partner of ours who owned the product. But then we got to like $30,000 a day in revenue at like a 30% margin. So we were doing like 10 grand a day in profit for this guy's skincare offer. And then he told us one day that he wanted to like take over Facebook and we needed a pause. So that really like pissed us off. And we decided we were just going to go launch our own skincare brand because we had this campaign we knew was working really well. Yeah. So we put in the effort. We got ourselves a dermatologist out of Miami. We started this business, and we shot our first really professional infomercial, and that went fucking nuclear hard. No way. That was the biggest campaign of my entire life. I mean, it's still the biggest campaign of my entire career right now. It was completely monstrous. Really? It was $40 million in our first 12 months in sales. It just was absolute. We were doing $4 million a month by month 3.
That is insane.
The
trajectory is so and that's not common by
no.
any means, but it's all those things you've learned, and now you're just like, you got the sauce. It's just like, okay, I just got to align all these things, and still you don't know it's going to work, but you lined up everything after years and years of all these trials and error, and it led to that moment, which is probably the 100%. Big moment in your life, right?
Yeah, that was a huge one, right? That was a monster one. Ended up selling the company after the first year and just taking a big pile of cash and going to travel around the world. That was like one of those pretty insane just moments of
Well, it's kind of interesting, like hearing your story. Like you just constantly have this like all or nothing attitude, and it's not all entrepreneurs. And I'm telling you from myself, I'm not like that. I'm like, I was so scared to spend money. You know what I mean? Because I was broke for so long that I was just so scared, right? And it took me a long time to get over that fear, right? And then maybe that's just because that's how I have anxiety or something. I don't know, right? So, but your mentality of like all or nothing is probably why you're ultra successful, just because you go so big and your gambles are so big that if something pays off, it pays off big, right?
It pays off big.
These, like massive bets, and yeah, maybe not every bet is a slam dunk or even a win, but if one does win, like this business and this, this venture that you started with a skincare product, and it pays off big. And I'm assuming that it costs money to launch that, and the investments and all that stuff. I'm just gonna take a wild guess.
It's like 80 grand between me and a business partner.
Yeah, and that's okay. 80 grand. I mean, you had another business before, you know what I mean, and you lost it all, and like these are all mindset things that a lot of people play in their head of like, I kind of rather just play it small and like grow, steadily, but you have this all or nothing mindset that just like goes for it every time. It's like that's seriously truly inspiring for a lot of entrepreneurs, even for myself. It's just been like, sometimes you need to go for it harder and just trust that you're gonna figure it out, and if not, you're gonna learn something, and maybe you'll figure it out in a year or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the world doesn't need any more people playing small. There's enough of those people, right? So I just fucking believe in. I mean, I am going for something, right? Yeah. Like, if playing small, all that really means is missing your goal, right? Yeah. Okay. You're just not going to have the rich version of your life. That's cool with you, right? Like, I'm just trying to get to where I would love to go as soon as possible so I can have more chapters in my life. I believe that you have one life. It's filled with a bunch of chapters, right? And you don't fucking pass a chapter until you're done with your chapter, right? Like high school, you had to finish the high school chapter till you're out, right? I had my by myself failing chapter. I had my mentors chapter. I had my first big business exit chapter. I had my next getting fucking wrecked chapter. And then I had another chapter where I'm partnering with brands, and now I have a fucking AI chapter, right? Yeah. Now, I don't exit my AI chapter until I exit my AI company, essentially. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if I exit it between in 2 years, or if I exit it in 10 years, or you really don't move on to the next phase of your life till you've passed your version. So I want as many chapters in my life as possible. I'm just in business to go on the adventure for the same reason why anyone's climbing Mount Everest. I'm in business for the same reason why people are trying to get gold medals, right? I'm not doing this to fucking do it for the rest of my life. I'm doing it to win a gold medal and then move on to something else that I really want to do. And then maybe I'll have businesses. I'll know how to do a business and stuff like that. But like, I am going for a gold medal here. So
Yeah. Well,
now, if you have a mindset like this, be prepared to get fucking wrecked, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have lost my millionaire status twice, but that doesn't matter because I have magic fucking fingers, right?
Yeah.
That I can get back. It'll take, no matter, if I ever get destroyed, it only takes me 1 year to get it back.
Yeah.
It's just a year delay, right? It's a year delay in my fucking timeline if I get wrecked.
And I feel like if you really like, especially when you get to a certain point, if you actually enjoy the journey of entrepreneurship and like creating stuff and building a brand, if you actually like fall in love with that stuff, that's when it becomes like fun. You know what I mean? And it actually takes away a lot of the pain. And if you can fall in love with the journey part of it, even though there's a lot of pain of it, but if you can fall in love with creating something out of nothing and selling it for a massive exit or whatever it is, or hitting some massive goal, that's when it becomes fun. That's when you're like, whoa, this is like life changing, where it's not just changing, your life, but it's changing the people around you, your spouse, your family, your mom, your dad, whatever it is. You can do such massive impact for not just yourself anymore, but it's for everybody that comes in contact with you. And now you're obviously, on this venture right now, you're teaching people through your course, right? Through the VSL course. So your impact that you had first was like a direct impact to your financial probably bank account and some people around you. But now you're impacting, tons of people. So tell us a little bit about your course you launched and kind of the progression of that, and then maybe tap into the AI launch as well.
Yeah, so naturally, I had a mentor who told me, don't ever launch a course, just go focus on being the best in the world. There's a really good saying that when the ROI goes down, the guru course goes up, right? People start courses because they can't make money on the internet anymore, right? Their business didn't work. That's why they have so much fucking time to go do a course, right? And so he was like, don't do a course. And then when I was with Mind Valley, one of my ads literally became #1 in the world and for long form ads on YouTube ads. So coincidentally, I had happened to see this quote that was like, hey, the master is not the one who is the best in the world. The master is the one who creates the most masters. So I was like, oh, fucking cool. I thought I was by the end of my road here. I was like, kind of like, what do I do? Do I just keep focusing? I'm here to grow. I'm not here to like sustain or maintain. I don't do good with sustaining or maintaining. I do good with meteoric fucking growth.
Yeah.
That's my what's I'm in it for. So what do you do when you get to #1? I don't know where to go. So when I found this quote, I was like, fuck yeah, there's a whole nother level. I can just get other people to be #1.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. So I called my mentor up. I was like, I'm going to do a course. He was like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, do a course. So I was like, okay, I had the blessings from him. So I made this program. It was $16,000 if you bought it before I even made it for 20 people. We sold out of that. We launched it. It did amazing. We priced it at $25,000 and then dropped it to about $3,000 a month or $20,000 for the year. Just a lot of badass guys are in this thing now. We've had Alex Hormozzi's team join. Tony Robbins' team is in here. Cole Gordon. There's guys with $40 million, $72 million a year, $100 million a year companies, and then all the newbie guys trying to learn how to make big campaigns on the internet. And it's been a really fun ride. I think we've had nearly 100 people sign up to this thing and join the masterclass. But I did notice there was a problem that kept coming up with a lot of my students. And it was really the same problem that I had coming in, was that the truth is that VSLs are still very hard, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I tell people I'm in VSLs, they go, that's VSLs are hard. They just say the same thing. It's fucking hard. And it is hard. You really got to do lots of scripts and have a skill set. Right? You're creating a video that usually doesn't work, right? And if you mess up, you actually lose a lot of money on ads, right? It's very painful to mess up. So I found my students were taking, the learning curve was just too high. It took too long to get up to speed. And I would find them take 2 weeks just to write a 5-minute script, right? Busting their ass. And I'm like, God, there's got to be a better way than this. So my whole story and what I really teach people is like, here's some of the biggest campaigns on the internet. We're going to rewrite them for your business. Like, that's what we fucking do here. That is the best way to do it. That is the only way, that is the most proven way, because this is a proven way to do it. Your way has no proof that it's going to work, so we don't do that way. So I have this big swipe file of campaigns, and I was wondering when ChatGPT came out, hey, is it possible for me to train an AI to do this? How could I get this done faster? And after some, like at the beginning, we didn't think it was possible because we're like, I have to create a bot that sells anything, any products. How the fuck do you do any products, right? Yeah. And then, so we were very discouraged at the beginning, and then after some months, we just had some breakthroughs that just was like, holy fuck, this is possible. This is, we can actually have AI. If we train AI on you and your story and your testimonials and everything about your product, and we train AI on like 20 of the biggest VSL campaigns between 2 or 6 minutes long that all did over 8 figures in sales, like this thing can rewrite winning, banging campaigns in an instant.
Wow.
In a blink of an eye. So we're like, let's fucking do it. You know, I just had this like vision of like AI completely dominating the entire advertising world because the creativity and the speed of execution is off the charts. You know, you cannot compete with being 1,000 times faster than the best copywriter in the world, right? By the time the best copywriter in the world makes one video, you made fucking 100, right? Like that's how much faster AI is going to be. So we spent 4 months putting this thing together, and we just launched it a few days ago, and it's been phenomenal. Hundreds of people have joined inside of this thing and are now making VSL scripts, and it's just the start of, I call it a revolution. I don't want to be too hypey, but I do think that there is a revolution involved with having AI come into the advertising space where it's not really very involved yet, but actually in a way that actually makes you money. I currently have not seen any tools outside of ChatGPT that actually makes me more money. Like this is a tool designed to sell your product more profitably so that your campaigns are more profitable and you make more money.
Yeah, well, I think it's like anything. Like marketing always has like, it's like peaks and valleys of new products or services or techniques or platforms, right? And if someone comes together and puts together something like this, like an AI where they can train and learn off of old models or old campaigns that performed really well and then just duplicate it for a new campaign. Because in ChatGPT, even alone, I haven't used it, and you can rewrite anything and everything. You can create avatars. Hey, this is my avatar. I'm Peter. This is how I talk. Here's all my text. I want to be talking like this. Write me, X amount of LinkedIn posts every single day, right? So you can create avatars, and I'm assuming you did that very similar to for all your successful VSL ads, right? So you created some sort of model against all of those products that did well. So then now just use that model, but recreate it for this product. Is that essentially what it is?
100%. Yeah, it follows a formula that we put together to sell this advertising campaign uses, and then we break down a buying avatar and the most likely person who's going to buy this, and it's able to combine these two and rewrite a winning campaign for you live in an instant.
Wow. So now not only you got your course where it actually teaches people all the things that you learned, but now really, which was probably the hardest part, is the creative, right?
The hardest part.
It's like that's probably a hard thing to teach people too. Is like, okay, on the creative side, you got to do this and this. Well, what about this product? I mean, it's probably never ending. So using some sort of AI model was extremely smart. So I'm just going to assume that, if everything lines up, this could be a massive win for you. Like huge.
I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I'm very happy with our launch day and the results that we did with that. We had 4,000 people join the wait list before we launched. It was very exciting. And the numbers are there, so I'm pretty stoked. I now have an AI startup, which has high valuation numbers, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And it's a subscription service, so that's pretty dope. I'm working on building the referral program. Before I do any advertising, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I've set up a system where internal members can recruit other people to join so that we're going to like incentivize them to get free credits if they get other people to join and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do our affiliate program so that people can start really selling other people, which is a very similar thing, but a little bit more serious when it comes to sales. And then we're going to do our ads. And then at the end of the day, this thing becomes nuclear and we're doing the whole thing for them. We get the scripts for them, and I'm putting together a video network. So I'm introducing them to all these video people who can make their videos, and then the media buying thing. So it's just step by step to like, you sell your product profitably on advertising, and you just get the whole flow. And I'm just like the leader in guiding them through all these stages. and creating tools that have it done for them. And could be exit. I don't know. I mean, can I get to 10 million a month in sales? I'm going to try, right? It's not going to be because I didn't try. That's for sure. It's going to be because it just wasn't possible, right? We're just going to hit the gas as hard as we can and see what happens.
Well, I think too is the market that you're in is so massive, right? Like the demographic is like everybody. So the cap is really there. You know what I mean? There's no ceiling like the demographic's too small for this. Like you're selling a variety of products. The potential is massive. So honestly, I think it's going to be a huge success just by following your journey. You're just you're envious of your mindset and how you've been able to get where you are. So what are the next phases now of your life? Obviously, you're hanging out in down by the beach and PCH drives in the Lambo. So is it just running these businesses and that's just and we're going to try to look for an exit and just kind of hang out, or what is it?
Honest, I'm in AI billionaire mode, right? That's what mode I'm in, right?
That.
Like just being an AI billionaire. And then maybe one day I'll be a real AI billionaire, but who knows?
you gotta download your subconscious onto the internet. But no, I think that's a great place to end, man. AI billionaire. Again, Peter, this was an awesome conversation, and I think what I've learned, just from talking to you and previously, and just on this call, is like everything I need to do, I just need to step it up. You know what I mean? And I think that's why I love doing this stuff. But it's true. Like, I need to be outside of my comfort zone. And you can't do that by surrounding yourself with the same people that think you're successful, that they think you have something. You got to get around people that make you feel a little uncomfortable. Like, I'm even thinking about, hey, is this product, is his offer something that I can use within my business, right? Like, those are things that you want to be. So I think being around people, talking to people like you is just, it opens up your mindset. And hopefully you do that even for yourself with other people that are doing bigger things and, doing things that you think are, even wild. So I think it's just a constant reminder that we need to be doing this on a daily basis. And I think this is the whole reason why I've been doing the podcast, even the social media stuff, is I want to get around people that make me feel uncomfortable and inadequate of things I've accomplished. Not because, in the ego purpose, but because I want to get to that next level. Like you always say, I want to get up level up on the game. Whatever that saying is, I love
double the high score, right?
Double the high score. So but that's so true. If you have that mindset with everything you do, it's why you're where you're at today. And I think it's just that constant progression of increasing your life's just happiness, right? And enjoying the journey, enjoying the process. But thank you so much, man, for coming on the Lead God podcast. Where can people find you? I know you got 50,000 subscribers or Instagram followers, and it's talent up every day. You got 20,000 on YouTube. Where can people find you? Where should they follow you at?
Yeah, I mean, the number one place you're going to get value is VSL.AI. VSL.AI, that's going to be the AI startup. You can hit me up on Instagram and YouTube at Peter Kell, or you can go to peterkell.com. Two best places to find me and find everything.
Awesome. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. We're going to be dropping this, chopping it up, sending it out anywhere. I just want to get people in front of Peter, and they learn from him just like how I have in such a short period of time. So, Peter, thank you so much for coming on, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Ken.